So what is the project? So what it is we're proposing is a 49.9 megawatt energy storage facility, and that's made up of containerized batteries. So if you've ever seen kind of shipping containers or cargo containers that you would see in the back of lorries, very similar to that, except they've been fitted with racks and racks of small battery units inside of them. Similar to if you've ever seen inside a data center where you see kind of racks and racks of servers. If you open the door to one of these containers, you would see kind of racks and racks of small battery components which make up the full sort of battery storage unit. So we've got those, the development consists of those containers containing the batteries. We've got associated equipment, kind of converters and inverters and things like that. There's an access track. There's a small kind of substation meter building, and there's some fencing and screening around the project as well, sort of landscaping, which I'll talk about in a wee minute. So what all kind of energy storage projects do in essence is we take excess energy from the grid. So that's usually at times where there's renewable energy being generated that's not required. So instead of having those wind turbines switch off, for example, we can keep those wind turbines going and we can store that power for another day when we do need it. And we put that electricity back into the grid, and that helps balance pardon me, supply and demand. So in essence, that's what kind of all energy storage projects do. But I'll explain about that in a little bit more detail in a wee minute. So who are Intelligent Land Investments Group? So we're an energy storage development company based in Hamilton in South Lanarkshire. We started the energy storage side of things in 2017. We had before that been involved in the feed-in tariff. We've done a number of single sort of wind turbines, solar projects and some hydro projects as well all across Scotland. But in 2017, we moved into energy storage with a vision of bringing 3 gigawatts of energy storage to Scotland. The majority of that's going to come through 3 pump storage hydro plants that we're developing at the moment. We're currently putting through planning. The first one of those has actually got planning consent. It's Red John up in Inverness at Loch Ness. You maybe have heard of that. It's just got planning a few weeks ago, so it's a really big project for the company. We're also doing 1 gigawatts of battery storage, of which Cathkin energy storage is going to be part of. So we're also doing this project in conjunction with the Abbey Group. The Abbey Group are another energy storage development company, and we've worked before with them through our time in renewables as well, and developed a number of proposals successfully that are up and spinning. So wind turbines are up and generating electricity. They've been involved in renewable energy since 2009. They're bringing 3 gigawatts. They'll be helping us with that 3 gigawatts of energy storage. 3 gigawatts of energy storage as well to Scotland. And they're working on. Stop that. Right. Sorry, apologies. Start again. Start that again. Okay. So we're going to start again. Let's get this back up. Okay, so let's try that again. So what is the project? So in essence, what we're proposing is a 49.9 megawatt energy storage facility, and that's made up of containerized batteries. So if you've ever seen a kind of cargo container or shipping containers, similar to what you'd seen in the back of lorries, It's very similar to one of those, except it's been fitted with battery storage inside of it. So that's kind of racks and racks of small battery components that make up a full battery storage unit. So we've got around about 26 of those, I believe, in the current kind of design that we have. So we've got those containers in development. You've got associated equipment, so inverters and converters as well. An access track down the middle of the compound. There's obviously there's electricity. We've got a small meter building, substation building to get the power to and from the grid. And there's also fencing around that and some landscaping as well to screen the project. So I'll give you I'll have a lot more in-depth kind of drawings of that in a little while, but I'm just giving you an overview of what it is we're doing. So in essence, what all energy storage projects do is we store excess energy from the grid. So at times when there's renewable generation happening, it's not required. So you probably drove by wind farms and you've seen some wind turbines spinning and some wind turbines not. And you wondered why that was. And the reason is that they probably didn't need that power that day. So instead of having those wind turbines switch off, what we can do is we can store that renewable energy and put it back into the grid when it is required, and it helps balance supply and demand for the grid. But I'll go into that in a little bit more detail in a minute. So who are Intelligent Land Investments Group? So we're an energy storage development company based in Hamilton, South Lanarkshire. We started the energy storage side of things in 2017 with a vision of bringing 3 gigawatts of energy storage to Scotland. Pardon me, the majority of that's going to come from 3 pump storage hydro projects that we're currently developing. First one of those recently got planning at Loch Ness. It's called Red John. You might have maybe seen that in the press. It happened a couple of weeks ago. So it's a really big deal for the company. So we're very happy about that. We're also bringing 1 gigawatt battery storage, of which Cathkin Energy would be part of as well. So who are the Abbey Group? So we're doing this project in conjunction with the Abbey Group. And they're also an energy storage development company. We've worked with them on a number of projects in the renewables sector, a number of wind turbines that are now up and spinning and generating electricity that we've worked alongside with them. And they've been involved in renewable energy since 2009. So they're working across energy projects all across Scotland, including solar storage, anaerobic digestion. So they do all the kind of renewable energy, and they're also involved in energy storage. And they're hoping to bring they're currently involved in 500 megawatts of battery storage projects. So that gives you a review of who the Abbey Group are. So why do we need energy storage? What is the purpose of a project like this? So Scotland's got a target of net zero by 2045. And to do that, we're going to have a bigger shift towards renewable energy. But the age-old problem that we have with renewable energy is it's intermittent, which means we can't always rely on it to meet demand. So it is only windy when the wind blows, it's only sunny when the sun's shining, and that doesn't always meet up with when we need power. So what we've done, historically, is that we've had fossil fuel generators that we can switch on. So when the wind isn't blowing and we need power, we switch on the coal, gas, and the nuclear to make up the difference. But as we move away from fossil fuels, and a lot of these nuclear plants are coming to the end of their shelf life, then we're more dependent on that renewable intermittent energy. So what we need to replace these is energy storage on a large scale. So a National Grid ESO have estimated that we need up to 40 gigawatts of energy storage by 2050. We currently have 4 gigawatts in the UK at the moment, so it's 10 times what we have at the moment. So the Scottish energy strategy, the Scottish Government are broadly supportive of these kind of projects. They realise if they're going to hit that net zero target, we're going to have, with the increase in renewable energy, we need an increase in energy storage as well. So why are we in this location? And the reason is we're located near the East Kilbride grid supply point. So a grid supply point is the substation that's kind of to the east, right, basically in the field adjacent to our project. A grid supply point is a substation, a large substation where you see sort of pylons, transmission power coming in and getting broken down into large voltages, getting broken into smaller voltages, out to smaller substations, and eventually out to homes and businesses. So it's a kind of hub for the grid network. So it's an ideal location to put in that kind of energy storage. It's an ideal location, but unfortunately in Scotland, although there's a lot of grid supply points, not all of them can take the kind of power that we're talking about. So that's why we're at the land at High Flat Farm. So the next few drawings give you a kind of planning view of everything. So you've maybe seen this drawing that we have already. The red line boundary is kind of planning boundary there that we have in at the moment. The project's nowhere near that size, but we like to have enough area in case we have to change the design or anything like that. So location is a field, part of High Flat Farm, adjacent to the East Kilbride grid supply point, directly to the south of the Cathkin landfill site, which you can see here. I think that's no longer operational, but we're right in the field below that to the south. We're 1 kilometre to the north of the James Hamilton Heritage Park down here, and to the kind of edge of East Kilbride. And the closest houses to the proposed development are around about, just over 300 metres from Rogerton and West Rogerton, these little settlements of houses that we have here. So I think that gives you an idea of where we are in the big scheme of things. This is the site layout. Now this is obviously this is a layout that we have at the moment. This is subject to change, so the dimensions and the number of containers and things like that could easily change before we go into planning. But the current design that we have is 26 energy storage units. So if you have a look here, you can see these rectangles are the kind of energy storage then. So there's 2 of those, and then in between the interspaced in between those is the transformers and converters, which there's 13 of those kind of bays of transformers converters. So one of those for every 2 containers. So the road, we come in off the road here, and the access track goes down the middle of the development, and you have the containers and the transformers converters either side. We've also got a fencing solution around there, so a 3 metre high kind of wooden fence that's going to be around that. And we also have screening as well. So we're going to have sort of new trees, planting native broadleaf trees and shrubs, which is kind of the green area here. So from all sides, from the road, it's going to be pretty well screened. And we always put a bit of effort into quite a lot of the design work goes into making sure that we have a proposal that has as low visibility as possible. And as I said, this kind of layout is subject to change. So the energy storage units themselves are those storage containers I mentioned. So they host all the batteries. So if you can walk inside these, you come in from the small end there, you can walk inside these containers. And if you to look inside, if you've ever seen inside a data center where you can see kind of racks and racks of servers, it's very similar. There's kind of racks and racks of smaller battery components that make up the full energy storage unit. So they're 13 meters by 2.5 meters by 2.6 meters high, and the equipment we're using, or the technology, is solid-state lithium batteries, which have been used successfully across most other UK and worldwide kind of battery storage projects that you'll see will be using that technology. The converters and transformers, so currently we've got 13 of those, and those you have the transformer bank, and then you have a bank of converters that run it parallel to them. So these give you an idea. So the kind of rough dimensions of these, the power converters, which are the kind of cabinets, are around about 1.6 meter by 1.4 meters by 2.6 meters tall. And then we have the transformer bank at the end of that, which is around 2.7 meters by 2.5 meters by 2.8 meters tall. And as I said, the kind of final equipment layout, depending on the final design and which technology provider we use, these can vary slightly from what I'm showing you today. Got a small substation building as well that's part of that compound, and that basically gives you all the switchgear and all the kind of the electrical equipment we need to get the power from the batteries to the grid, and from the grid back to the batteries again. And that's a glass reinforced building, 10 meters, up to 10 meters by 6 meters by 3.2 meters high, and we'll agree a colour for that with the council. So I think that gives you an overview of what it is we're proposing, who Intelligent Land Investments Group are, who the Abbey Group are, and why we need energy storage and why we need it in this location. So myself and Greg are now going to answer any questions that you may have.